So with emotions, what I would say there is that, many times we're not expressing the emotion. So we tend to eat as a way to compensate. And there are, I think it's been estimated that over 75% of overeating is due to emotions. But people don't have that recognition that it's emotions that are the driver.
Right.
So I would say to be in touch with emotions, do an emotion log and a checklist of how you feel. And note if you feel more sad, depressed, bored. Even boredom can lead to more emotional bouts of eating. Just to take up the space, to fill that space with something. People sometimes will just eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's considered as part of kind of like that whole platform of emotional eating. Like, why are we eating? I think we just need to ask why. Are we feeling hungry? Are we bored? Are we needing comfort?
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion. Today I have with me Dr. Deanna Minich. She's a health educator and author with more than 20 years of experience in nutrition, mind-body health, and functional medicine. Dr. Minich holds master's and doctorate degrees in human nutrition and medical science, respectively, and has lectured extensively throughout the world on health topics, teaching patients and health professionals about health. Her passion is bringing forth a colorful, whole self approach to nourishment called Whole Detox and bridging the gap between science, soul, and art in medicine. This interview was so much fun and educational. I was very inspired to eat more in color, live more in color, actually go back to doing my art. The information was amazing, and she's so smart and so much fun, and you can feel her passion and love to this topic and to really helping people in their lives. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Deanna, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am super excited to be talking to you and
Yeah, this is
learning so much from you. So before we begin, can you tell me how you discovered your passion and what you do today?
Yes. I would say that my mom is the one that really got me going down the path of food and nutrition. So early on in my life, she was really tuned into health and healing and also her faith. I think she combined those things in a very unique way. And that really set the stage for my teenage years. I got into science. And then when I went to the university, I was also very interested in science, but I wanted to think out of the box a little bit more. So I got interested in things like English literature, art history, yoga. I began to open my horizons a bit more. I then went to graduate school to study nutrition because I got more interested in food. And, I went for my master's and my PhD, all within nutrition science and medical science, and emerged from that womb of academia, like when I was about close to 30. And then I went into the working world. But I had particular passion around plants, around plant foods, about the nutrition of plants. And there were a lot of common threads coming together, like art. Like I started to do paintings on my own, just, abstract art and lots of hypercolor type of imagery. So I think all of us in the health field in some way, shape, or form, much of our path will start out with our own healing. And for me, it was a personal healing process where I had a number of issues and I continued to look for solutions. And a lot of those solutions were multifactorial. They were food, they were energy medicine, it was art, it was massage, it was acupuncture. I experienced a lot of different things.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really passionate about gut health, especially lately. About a month and a half ago, I bought a jar of kimchi from Whole Foods. I like kimchi. When I lived in Japan, I had Korean friends who invited me over. I've been eating kimchi my whole life, never had a problem. And then I took a bite of that thing and got the most horrible food poisoning for 24 hours and started throwing up. And I won't bore you with the details. But for since then, I've been getting like my gut health was like something happened, and from that day on, like stomach aches and bloating and so much freaking pain. Um, and now it's getting better. I'm actually doing like a celery juice every morning, and that helps. And I took some medicine for that, but I'm still like under a doctor care. And I heard you in one of your talks talking about the relationship between the gut and stress in your life. So
Yeah.
how does that correlate? Because I know that I had a lot of stress. That happened 2 days before my mom left. She stayed with us. She's from Israel. She stayed with us for 6 months. 2 days before she left, it happened. So obviously there is some stress connection there.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, right? I think it's one of the underestimated aspects of our gut health is stress. Many people think, oh, it's the foods I'm eating. It can be the foods. The foods can be a trigger, but stress changes the flow and the fluidity of the gut, the motility, how it moves. It changes the secretions like the pancreatic enzymes and the acid. It can change the gut microbiome. And if you change your gut microbiome, you're changing a whole bunch of different things. So it's been well recognized, I think, in ancient traditions that the gut is like this emotional center, right? Like we feel things in our gut when things are off. It's been said that the gut is the seat of the intuition. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I do know that the gut responds. Our bowel movements change if we are stressed or nervous or anxious about something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that the gut is a portal to not just our physiology and our body, but also our mind, our emotions, our psychology.
Right. And so what is the connection between the gut and the brain? How do they work together?
Well, many of the neurons in the body are actually located down below in the torso. So a lot of these afferent neurons gather information and take it on up to the brain to process so that we have a response or a signal. In addition, separate from the neurons, we produce a lot of these signaling molecules in the gut, like neuropeptides, a lot of these very active proteins that get produced in the gut and then travel systemically to interact with our brain. They cross the blood-brain barrier and they have some effect there. It's also been said and shown that we produce neurotransmitters in the gut, things like dopamine and serotonin. A lot of these things that we would consider to have neuroactive, psychoactive properties in the brain, we're producing most of them in the majority in the gut. So the gut is I would call it a psychoneuroendocrine immune organ. It houses the psyche, it houses the nervous system, it harbors a lot of endocrine function, it responds to hormones, and 60 to 70% of our immune system is actually located in the gut. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge hub. No wonder so many people are fascinated with the gut, and we're now starting to appreciate the gut. And I do think it's a portal. It's a portal to the outside world, going in and going out, right? It's the tube that connects us to the outside. So I think from that perspective, it's very intriguing. It's doing a lot of things.
So what is the solution? Do you go first to food and heal the gut through food? And you're talking about the rainbow diet, or do you go to mindset or healing emotions? What comes first, and what do you do about that?
I ask the person, what do you want to do? Because all paths go up that mountain of healing. Mm-hmm. And working on stress can be as effective as changing your diet. Maybe there's just one thing about food that you want to change, and you say, well, I can do this or I can do that. Oftentimes, what I have found clinically is the thing that we most feel like we want to hang on to and not give up is the thing that we most need to give up. some of these dysfunctional, let's just take food as an example. I mean, I'm a nutrition scientist, so I typically think about food as my first line approach. However, food is not everything. Some people eat really healthy and they get stressed out about it. They're orthorexic. They're so focused on eating healthy that it's a whole stress-filled process, right? So that's not so good for the gut. Do we want to create leaky gut just through our thoughts about food that's healthy? No. So I would say all paths are valid. If we are focused on sleep, we're focused on physical activity, we're focused on food, we're focused on better relationships and relaxation in our lives, it's all relevant. These are all many paths up that road of gut healing, for sure.
So when somebody is coming to you, what will be the first step?
Well, people know me for food and eating. They know me for nutrition. They know that that's what my professional background is about.
Yeah, of course. And within this realm, what will be the first thing that you would do?
Well, I would ask them how they're eating. And typically I like to see photographs, because a photo can tell us so much about the quality of food, the quantity of food. It'll tell me about their colors, what colors they're taking in. Are they taking in a lot of processed foods? It'll tell me about the combinations of foods. And from there, I can ask specific questions. So if I see that somebody has a lot of brown, yellow, and white on their plate, so brown meaning like a lot, and by the way, I'm not wedded to a certain dietary dogma. So it's not like I say, everybody has to be vegan. Everybody needs to be omnivore or paleo or keto. I don't even think like that. I think in terms of quality. Well, I'm just letting you know, because I'm not trying to shuffle everybody into that direction. I would like to see people eating more plants,
right?
More plants in general. And we can pick the kind of plants we want, right? It could be herbal tea. It could be spices. It could be herbs from the garden. It could be fruits. It could be veggies. It could be grains or legumes. I mean, nature gives us so much. So we don't have to feel like it's just one thing. We could choose amongst that universe of many different options.
Right. And when you see people's, like, the color on the plate, what does the color, what are the colors represent? Why do we need to eat in color? Why do we need to eat the rainbow?
Yeah. So let's go through each of the colors, because each of them do, in my mind, symbolize a certain functional benefit or a signature. So the first one is red. If we think of the rainbow, let's just do 5 colors. So red is the color of urgency, emergency, reactivity, survival. Typically when we see red foods like cranberries and strawberries and tomatoes and, so many different beets, so many different veggies and fruits, what we tend to think is that those foods are addressing inflammation, and they're addressing the immune response, because immunity is connected to the inflammatory response. So there are certain plant compounds that help to reduce that noise in the body. Now, that doesn't mean that all the other colors don't do that, but red foods in general seem to have a little bit more activity, or at least I see a pattern around that. So red is important for that. And as you can imagine, inflammation is connected to heart disease. We see some research on prostate health in men. So looking at red, like pomegranate, watermelon. In fact, I was just looking at a research study, a review article on watermelon, and how watermelon contains different compounds that help to open up the blood vessels. So it causes the expansion of the vasculature, because it's helping to work on things like inflammation. So red is, again,
I'm devastated, because I just did the Viome test, and one of the things they told me not to eat is tomatoes and watermelons and peppers, like 3 things that I really love. I have no idea.
Well, and that can happen. That can happen temporarily. There can be, so red is also the color that can evoke inflammation. So for some people, like I'm like you, I can't do tomatoes. I can't do tomatoes. I become red. I have more histamine. I have more pain. So I do have to pay attention. There are certain red foods like chili peppers and strawberries, and even, like you said, tomatoes, that can lead to inflammation in some people, right? So there can be a case of that. It could either lead to inflammation, or it could stop inflammation. And sometimes we have to take those things out temporarily and reset the body, and then we can see them again.
Yeah, for sure. So that was red. What's the next color?
That's red. And then the next one is orange. Orange is, it's the color of, if we think of fruits, I think of circles like mandarins, oranges, persimmons, peaches, even mangoes, papaya. Gosh, so many good things. Lately, I've been really fixated on mango, dried organic mango. It is
we have a mango tree in our backyard, and we had 2 months of so many mangoes. I still have frozen mangoes. And
lucky you.
Like, oh my God, they were the best mangoes I've ever had in my life. And then I went to my acupuncturist, and he's like, mango, it's not good. It's like cheese for your body. It's like the cheese of fruit. And I'm like, I didn't agree with him. He said that it's not
one person's medicine, it can be another person's poison, right? It just depends on your body. And maybe with your constitution, maybe he was seeing something about the mango being not so good.
Well, he said that mangoes are more easily digested by younger people. And now that I'm not as young.
What? I don't understand that. I mean, mango has natural enzymes as well. So there are things within the mango that could help with digestion. The only thing I think people have to think about with mango, especially dehydrated, like I've been eating, is that it could be high glycemic. So it could be a lot of sugar that we take in all at once if we don't take it in with other things. But in general, mango is high in a carotenoid called beta-cryptozanthin. And beta-cryptozanthin and other of the carotenoids can be beneficial for reproductive health. Some of the science that I've seen on beta-cryptozanthin would suggest that it would play a role in reproductive issues and just helping us, because those carotenoids are they can be protective in the body in whole food formats.
Yeah, so it's good for fertility.
Yeah. So orange is the color. It's a warm, sexy color. It's inviting. It's playful. In the animal kingdom, it was really interesting. I'm no animal scientist.
If you look at the chakra, the orange chakra is around the reproductive system. So it makes sense.
Yeah, you're seeing the trend, aren't you?
I'm seeing the trend. I'm connecting the dots.
I don't talk chakras with everybody, but when people start to hear of the associations, they say, oh, wow, I see the chakra signature here. And it's like, yes, but I try to make this accessible for more people because I want more people to receive the truth of that particular, those findings, right? But anyway, orange, yes, playful, reproductive, also protective. But, even think of like in nature, when fish like guppies are wanting to mate, the female will be most attracted to the most bright orange male. Usually in nature, like I even think of ducks, how the male has certain colors, right? And those colors are connected to these plant compounds. So even though it's not like the female is thinking, oh, I want a mate that will be good in surviving and give my offspring a better chance of survival, let me pick the most colorful one. It's just that nature has that kind of built in, that the color of the plumage or of the gills of the fish correspond to the pigments from these carotenoids that are actually good for reproductive health. So it all works out.
Cool. So after orange, we got
yellow.
Yellow
is the fire element up in the digestive tract. So
banana.
Banana is high in prebiotic fiber, right? If we go with like a less ripe banana, we can get a lot of fiber in banana. And banana is also really high in serotonin.
Is it better to eat like a ripe banana or a young banana?
It just depends what you want from the banana. If you want more fibers, I would say to choose a less ripe banana. Right? So like a more green banana. Have you seen the green banana flour that's available that people can buy now?
No. I haven't.
Green banana has been talked about for its prebiotic effects, and people are using it for baking, different kinds of applications like smoothies, but it's very good in a variety of different prebiotic effects. It gives us the substrate or the fiber for good bacteria to work on in the gut. So there's banana, there's lemon, there's pineapple, there's plantain, there's ginger. I mean, a lot of these things are very catalytic. You know, maybe they're revving the digestive fire, so to speak, or they're changing up bile flow, and bile is yellow. It's kind of that yellow green, right? The liver is fueled by some of these different compounds. The pancreas is helped by some of those enzymes in pineapple, right? Pineapple is filled with bromelain, which can help to digest our foods, right? And so sometimes
also with coughs and flus.
Yeah. Correct. It breaks down protein. It breaks down a lot of those inflammatory compounds. Like when we have an injury or cold, flu, people take proteolytic enzymes to help break down those different proteins.
Nice. Like talking to you, I just feel like, okay, I just wanted pineapple right now. I want a pie right now. I want to go shopping Whole Foods right now. Cool. So that was the yellow. And what else is good? What else are we talking about? Green, of course.
Well, then we have
green.
Of course. Green is up in the heart. Green is all about the cardiovascular system. It's all about really giving the heart what it needs. I mean, if you just look at a leaf of kale, you know, you can almost see the vasculature, right? You could see all those highways and networks of like veins of the plant. And that, to me, that's like doctrine of signatures, you know. And what we know about leafy greens is that they're high in folate, they're high in vitamin K, vitamin K1, phyloquinone, and they're also high in nitrates, healthy nitrates, which convert in the body to nitric oxide, which open up the blood vessel. So all in all, those greens are good for the heart. And so whenever I think of green, in fact, that's like the color that's most widely found in nature, right? It's not orange or yellow. It's really green. Green is everywhere. There's so many green choices out there, whether it's leafy greens or different types of onions or different, the cruciferous vegetable family like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, so many different things that we could be choosing from.
Do you juice a lot?
I don't. I juice in season. So I live in the Pacific Northwest, so it's rainy and cold in the winter months. And I also go with the energetics of food, right? So I'm married to an acupuncturist, and I come from thinking about the energetics of food as well as the science of food. So in the winter months, my body doesn't feel like cooling juices. I feel like warm teas and other type of, I would say, more soothing elements. But in the summer, oftentimes I will make fresh juice. I have a juicer at home.
Right.
So I'm able to do that. But I do prefer smoothies over juices because I do think that getting the fiber from the fruit or the vegetable is important for how that food is assimilated in the body.
Yeah. I live in Florida, so I can juice most of the year.
Yeah, it's warm where you're at now, right?
Yeah, warm. Yeah, it's like I'm wearing long sleeve, but I can wear a t-shirt as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
So color in different aspects of our lives. So you said the food that we eat, they all give us something. So we always want to have the rainbow on our plate. How does color affect other aspects of our life?
Well, the only other thing, let's just cover blue purple as the last.
Of course, yeah.
Well, I don't want to leave that one out because that's the one that most people don't get. So it's interesting that we left it out there because that's what happens in the American diet. People leave out blue purple. It's a rare color.
And I just did that. I feel ashamed of
Well, no, it was symbolic. It was symbolic that you did. I actually think it's great. It shows the point of how we don't tend to think of blue purple. But blue purple is out there. And in fact, many of the blue purple foods like berries and grapes and even purple varieties of foods that aren't normally purple, like purple kale, purple Brussels sprouts, purple broccoli, all those kinds of things, you know, purple shades of leafy greens of various types. That purple compound is really important for the brain. In fact, some of the earlier work would suggest that those purple compounds would travel in the body to make their way into the brain for certain roles in functionality and learning and memory. So learning, memory, these are the anthocyanins compounds that make that food very purple and pretty. And I had some questions about the gut. Many of these purplish compounds are considered to be in that polyphenol category. Many of your listeners may have heard about polyphenols. Polyphenols are used by the gut microorganisms. They basically metabolize these plant compounds, the polyphenols, and then they make more active compounds that help the body overall. So blue purple for the brain. Don't forget blue purple, everybody, because we need those compounds for the brain and otherwise. And then, I'll just say a quick word about brown. Coffee, cocoa, chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes these things are considered a taboo for various reasons, mostly the caffeine. However, they do contain important phytochemicals. So cocoa and chocolate, the dark chocolate variety, both of those things do contain polyphenols, which can be helpful for the gut. Unless somebody's sensitive to caffeine, unless somebody is sensitive to, you don't want sugar in those products. That's not so good either. But the pure cocoa, if people can get raw cacao, what I like to do in the winter months is you could even try this in the summer, raw cacao powder, organic. You get it at the store in powdered form. You take just a big heaping tablespoon, you put it in a coffee cup or, just like a mug, and then you put hot water and you just stir it and you put some cinnamon and perhaps some other spices, and it tastes so good just like that.
That's my morning coffee, actually. Organic raw cacao with cinnamon and a scoop of collagen protein and almond milk. That's what I do.
That is perfect. And then you even brought in the white, right? So you brought in the collagen powder. And for some people, they look at coconut MCTs and coconut milk, coconut variety, right?
Yeah.
So
even though, I have to admit that in the last couple of weeks, I've changed. I'll drink less cacao and more celery juice because somehow I don't know what's in it. It doesn't taste good. It's actually kind of salty, and tasteless. But it just, when I drink it, I feel like it's healing the system, and I feel very different. And I started to do a glass of water with 1 lemon, and then maybe and I took that suggestions from the book Medical Intuitive.
Medical Medium.
Yeah, sorry. I actually have the book here. I'll show it. That's it.
I do.
Yeah, and I have another book here that is amazing. And I'm sorry I don't have your book. Do you have your book? Let's show your book after that. Also, this book, Mind to Matter, is fascinating.
Okay.
2 books that I'm reading right now. Phenomenal. Nice. Yeah, and so he recommended to do this and then do celery juice. And then you do a detox shake with cilantro, which I didn't get to. I was like, okay, I'm just going to start adding 2 things and then baby steps.
I'm glad you said that, because I think many people, they go all in and then they start doing so many things all at once. And then it becomes a problem, because then you don't know what changed what. Was it the combination or was it one of those things? So it's good that you're doing it stepwise.
Yeah, I like that. It's really helpful. And I did a brain scan with Dr. Eamon, was it 5 years ago? And one of the things that he recommends for the brain is blueberries. So almost every day I try to have some. I didn't know it was the purple. I didn't know why. I know they're rich in antioxidants and they're low glycemic and they're good for you. So this is one of my staple foods, definitely.
That's great. Blue purple for the brain. Absolutely. They're doing a lot of different things, even beyond just being an antioxidant.
What else do they do?
What else? Well, they're doing, they're protecting the DNA. They're anti-glycative. They are seeming to also change the properties of the neurons. So they're helping with neuronal growth. Nice. There are some animal and cell studies looking at what's called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is a compound that can be used for the growth of neurons. And it seems like blueberries, at least in cell models, from what I've seen, may help with the neuronal growth. So they may prevent unwanted cell death. It just seems like blueberries, it's more, we used to talk about foods like fruits and vegetables being antioxidants, but now I think we're becoming more sophisticated because we understand that food is complex. It has a lot of different things in it. And those things are sometimes playing a role locally, sometimes systemically. In the case of blueberries, I think it's more of like I think it has a system-wide effect, but especially I'm seeing more research on the brain specifically.
So I want to ask you more about colors and how it affects different parts of our life. Like when you wear color, what does it do to you, or what's your research around color?
Yeah, well, color is an important, I would say it's an environmental signal that changes our behavior. So as an example, if you see a red stop sign, we know to stop. If you see a red stoplight, we know to stop. Ambulance is red. If we're around cooling colors like green, blue, purple, we tend to feel more relaxed than when we're around red, orange, and yellow, which are more stimulating and more warming. So I do think that color science and color psychology, color therapy, they have an acknowledgement and a recognition of that. But I don't think there isn't a lot around having certain colors and then just like monitoring mood states and how rapidly that could change. Because I think that we feel much of what I've seen has been more intuitive rather than like science-based. It's more soft science. It's more, how do you feel when you see this color? That said, we also see a lot of use of certain colors in marketing. Mm-hmm. So blue, the color blue, like a deeper blue, signifies authority or some type of credibility. And you'll find that blue is often used in science, is often used for different organizations to impart a tone of more credibility, if you will. Green is associated with health. So typically a lot of healthy food products tend to be green or use green packaging, green letters. Even health practitioners many times will use green in their business because it imparts some kind of feeling of like, oh, there's something healthy or something about nature with this particular business or product.
I feel like when I'm in a really good mood, I wear more color. When I feel more like playful or powerful, I'll wear stronger, bolder colors.
And I think it can work the other way too, where you can change your mood based on the colors you wear.
Yeah.
And you can try that. Like, so my wardrobe is laid out in the rainbow. And when I get up, it is. It just makes it easier for organization. So I have my red, I have the full spectrum. I have black and brown at the end, but I do kind of sense the day. Like I have to pack for a trip this weekend or this week, actually. I leave tomorrow. And I was feeling like, what is the feeling I want for this trip? And I thought, I need green. So I went and but you see, I thought about it intentionally. Like, this is the color that I want. I want to bring more healing, more love, compassion to this whole visit. Some visits are more, I would say, business oriented, and they don't have that same. So I'll pack more like navy blue or even black or beige or more neutral tones. But I really do think about it. And I do believe, at least for me, that the color that I'm wearing is changing my perception because I'm constantly seeing it. And everything carries a wavelength, right? It's a light. It's some kind of it's being registered by our eyes, and our eyes are essentially part of our brain. And so we're getting a quick signal as to our associations with that color. Now, if we have a negative association with a color, we could be stimulating that too. And so often I'll ask people, what's your favorite color and what color do you avoid? So, and that could change, right? For everybody. I know for me, since I was very young, I always liked the color green, kind of like the green that's in the back of you. It's perhaps a little bit deeper, like a forest green. I've always loved that color green. The color that I haven't liked is orange. I have struggled with the color orange and especially pink, but now I wear orange and pink all the time. I don't know what happened to me, but it's like I'm in a pink phase. In fact, just today I was thinking to myself, like, what happened to me? I went from not liking pink at all, especially the pastel pink, like the lighter pink.
Mm-hmm.
I would never wear it. Never, never, never. And then all of a sudden, like, I can't get enough pink. I can't get enough of that Jason Momoa light pink color that he always wears. I was wearing a pink sweater before.
I do only look at the color.
And I was like, wait.
The Jason Momoa wears.
Say that again?
When it comes to Jason, I don't know if it's the color that I'm looking at.
I don't know either. I mean, that's a tough one, but the two together is like a 1-2 punch, right? It's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's cool. And now I want to go shopping, not at Whole Foods, just to buy more color. I mean, lately I've been craving. I was looking at my wardrobe and I'm like, it's kind of boring. I want to have more color in my life.
If you need more stimulation, you need more inspiration and motivation, I would choose red, orange, and yellow. If you need more cooling off and you need to relax, you need more calming vibes around you, I would say go with green, blue, and purple. Mm-hmm. And if you need more neutrality, just like where you are kind of like, you don't want energy in either direction, white, black, brown, navy blue, beige, kind of like the more neutral tones. Mm-hmm. So that you can actually fire yourself up psychologically through those warming colors. You can cool yourself down. And sometimes I wonder whether or not people are showing what's going on the inside. I made just an anecdotal correlation with a couple of clients that I noticed when they were very inflamed and they wore a lot of red. And I was thinking, is there a correlation between them being inflamed on the inside and showing that inflammation through red lipstick, red sweaters, dyeing their hair red, all the many things of red and orange?
My mom always told me that if I'm sick, I should wear red. She didn't give me an explanation to why. She's like, if you're sick, just wear red. And I noticed that, I don't know if it's because she told me, but I do, when I'm not feeling well, I gravitate to red. Or when I want to look really sexy, I gravitate to red.
Yeah. Red is attention. It's action. I can see why your mom would say that, because it denotes some kind of reaction or activity. It inspires us to get engaged, right? And then you probably have heard, like, if you go on a job interview, wear your red power suit. So really? Red, yeah. Red is.
I would think that it would be alarming to the other side.
Well, maybe in this day and age, it's a little bit different, but I think historically there's been discussion about like wearing red for attention. Red can also be a passionate color, like Valentine's Day, red hearts, and just bringing out a lot of feeling or emotion. Mm-hmm. So there's that too.
That's cool. That was very interesting and wonderful. And I want to shift and talk a little bit about emotional eating, which sometimes I do, because I like salty and I like sweet, and they like me too.
Well, what I would say about emotional eating is that most people do engage in emotional eating. We can't separate our food from our lives, right? I mean, food is part of how we live, and how we live is how we eat. Like, they're integrated. So with emotions, what I would say there is that, many times we're not expressing the emotion. So we tend to eat as a way to compensate. And there are, I think it's been estimated that over 75% of overeating is due to emotions, but people don't have that recognition that it's emotions that are the driver.
Right.
So I would say to be in touch with emotions, do an emotion log and a checklist of how you feel, and note if you feel more sad, depressed, bored. Even boredom can lead to more emotional bouts of eating. Just to take up the space, to fill that space with something. People sometimes will just eat. And so that's considered as part of kind of like that whole platform of emotional eating. Like, why are we eating? I think we just need to ask why. Are we feeling hungry? Are we bored? Are we needing comfort? And so many times, just like you said, if we want salty or sweet, many times the flavor that we're going for, that taste, that sensation, mirrors what we're feeling, or it connects to, in some way, a sense of comfort or a memory or an experience around that food.
Right. And I heard you talk in one of your talks that you mentioned that fatty foods, they help with sadness.
Yeah, that's true. That's not my work. That was something in the literature where an infusion of fat helped to, in this particular study, helped with overcoming feelings of sadness. Right. So then I often think, when people are sad, maybe they go to ice cream or things that are high fat as a way of like numbing, right? Mm-hmm. We bring in, or dissipating, clearing. But the food is only a temporary fix. And I think long term, it's healthier if we can figure out what are the emotional strategies to express in healthy ways.
All right, let's talk emotional strategies, because sometimes we have the awareness and like I'm eating the chips. I know it's not good for me. And I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to keep eating it because I'm not feeling that great right now.
Yeah.
Or I'll eat something from my childhood because it gives me this connection to something in my past, or food equals love, equals family, equals good memories. So I'm going to have this now to feel more elevated. So what are some of the strategies that you have to share with us?
Yes. Okay. I think about it in 3 steps. The first step is to become aware. You already said that even if you're eating the chips, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. It's not healthy. You're at least aware. That's the first part of this whole thing, is to know when you're eating emotionally, right?
I am aware that I'm self-sabotaging right now.
Yes. I mean,
and then I have this rebel side of me that said, okay, whatever, you deserve it, or just now, or just today.
Well, and feed that rebel, because the rebel is you. And, there is this piece of needing to really accept. So how do you accept the rebel? Number 2 is to give the rebel an alternative. So there might be potato chips, but then I would say to make a list of all the many other strategies that you like to engage in, so that the rebel just doesn't go to potato chips. It's like, okay, I could go do that. I can go to the mall and just go for a walk. I could go and do this. I can go and do that. But give yourself options so that you have alternatives. And then I think for people who are really serious about getting to the root cause of their emotional eating, you've got to do the deeper work with somebody who's trained in the art of looking at each of those foods and what they actually connect to emotionally, and then finding strategies to kind of allow those emotions to come out. I'll give you an example. The reason why I got into art is because I had lots of emotions that I realized later that I wasn't expressing, and I didn't know how to express them. And the only way that I felt called was to actually make art and to have lots of color on a canvas.
I really want to see your art right now. Do you have it?
Gosh, our home is filled with my art. Well, I have one canvas here. This is, I don't know if you could see it.
Yeah, I can. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and it's swirly,
very emotional. It's very.
It is. That is bingo. That's exactly right. And that's where, again, I let things come out on, because not all emotions can express through words. Sometimes it will be a color. And I usually paint in orange and pink and gold, which is really interesting, and it's like, well, those were the colors. I wasn't. So here's another one.
I feel like those colors represent sides of you that you weren't willing to accept, and now you're integrating. And so it's part of self-acceptance.
Exactly. And so I'm just showing that as part of really allowing people to see that there are alternatives for expression of emotions that can be healthy and creative. So right. And so for me, it just happened to be art. My husband is a musician, so he does acupuncture by day, music by night. That's his release. That's his stress valve that he can open. For other people, it could be dance, it could be hiking, it could be biking, it could be going to the gym. The gym would only cause me stress. I have no joy in the gym. I don't get into that, but I do like my own creative time where I just turn on the music. Sometimes I just listen to my husband playing the guitar and I can start to go into my mind space of creating with color.
Nice. Yeah, I discovered my love of painting, but I only did two of them and they were marvelous, and then I stopped. And now you make me want to paint again. So you were really inspiring me. Thank you. And I'm sure you're inspiring everybody that is listening now to be like, I'm going to buy a new wardrobe. I'm going to shop for good food. I'm going to paint, dance, hike, sing, express myself. Because
Why
we
not?
deserve, we deprive, like we put ourselves in cages. We deprive ourselves from things that make us feel good because we have to focus on our careers, or we put all those rules around ourselves.
Yeah.
And when you start doing stuff like art or singing or anything creative, you affect your brain. You break through those boundaries and you expand who you are, and you're actually fulfilling more of your true potential. And then you end up wearing pink and feeling amazing.
Or orange.
Or orange. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you nailed it. And sometimes we need that inspiration, right? I'm glad that I found that path of using art to express my emotions. It's not like I use art all the time. Sometimes I like to just be in nature, but we do need other options. I have a rebel side as well. I think all of us have a rebel archetype. You know, we've got that resist, kind of that teenager mentality, right? And it's like, that's okay. I mean, let's let it out. Let's get it out on paper. Maybe we make poems, we make prose, we do haiku. I had one woman in my group who did haiku. That was her form of emotional expression and the way that she identified herself.
So when you okay, let's say it's the middle of the night. Oh, actually, I don't eat in the middle of the night. Let's say it's the evening and I'm craving that piece of chocolate. And I'm trying to grab the piece of chocolate. How can I convince myself to go and do something else? Because grabbing the chocolate is so much easier than going to the gym or, taking all your art supplies and starting to create. Or maybe maybe you create when you're not feeling emotional, and then you have the outlet, and then you don't have the craving.
All of the above, right? Because then you get rid of that buildup of emotion, right? I don't paint every day. Oftentimes I'll just paint like twice a month, and it just releases kind of like all of that stuff that has been accruing and stagnant. It's like a good acupuncture treatment, right? I find that acupuncture is great for releasing stagnation, emotional stagnation, because I don't have a lot of physical symptoms, but I feel sometimes tension, or it's all emotional for me. So acupuncture does that, painting does that. So what do you do at night, right? So some of my strategies would be, number one, do things you enjoy. So like taking a hot bath. I have certain songs, or, I try to like turn off the mind by doing things that are more, I would say, just allow me to be in a space of openness, like listening to different music that I like. 15, I'm sure you've heard of the 15-minute wait out, where we can distract ourselves from some craving if we can move away from it and change our neurons within that.
Yeah, that's easy if you're not an Aries. 20 minutes to what?
Well, take that fire and move it. Aries needs to burn. And if it's fire and it's kind of like, self-perpetuating, finding a way to spark that flame, right?
Yes, of course. And I'm joking. Of course, we can take at least a few deep breaths and just separate ourselves from the emotion. And there's so many beautiful tactics. And I can't believe you're already at the top of the hour. And I want to be respectful of your time. So I have two questions. One, where can people find you, get your books, work with you? And two, what are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life?
All right. Easy. The first answer to your question about where can people find me, they can find me through my website, deannaminich.com. So DeannaMinich.com. So I have an Instagram page, I have Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Nourish Your Whole Self that people can join. I give lots of different tips and things on there. And as far as the 3 tips, they are color, creativity, and variety. So with color, we talked a lot about color already. So bringing more color into your life. When we eat colorful foods, we have colorful moods. We live a more colorful life. Number 2, creativity, which allows us to express and provides a vehicle for healing with our emotions and so many other things. And then the 3rd thing is variety. Change it up. Get out of your ruts. Sometimes we get bored and we get stagnant and stuck because we're in ruts and grooves and we're in a ditch in our life where we can't get out. And so just to make a small shift in the direction of doing something new and different, those would be my 3 tips.
Beautiful. Deanna, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for this fun and very, very awesome conversation. I learned a lot. I feel very inspired by you, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Orion. My pleasure. Thanks for your invitation.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember, listeners and whoever is watching on YouTube, remember to live in color, embrace your creativity, and change it up. Get some variety in your life and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.